Hi, I'm Anna McKerrow, and this is my Magical People series. And today I'm here with Laura Daligan. Do you want to say hi, Laura?
Hello everybody, and
Hello.
thank you for having me, Anna.
You're very welcome. It's nice. It's nice to have you.
Oh.
Saucy.
Starting mean to go on.
I know. I've set the level. It's not high. It's low. Um, can you introduce yourself, please, Laura?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Laura, and I live and work in Glastonbury as a psychic artist, a shamanic artist, a psychic, a teacher. I do all of these things. I live a thankfully, very blessed and magical life. My work and my career and my spirituality is all entwined. And I've been living in Glastonbury for the last 7 years. And before that, I lived in London, which is where I met Anna, for many years. And I trained in different spiritual practices over the years, which I'm sure we'll talk about throughout this interview. And I currently am writing a book or two. So yeah, I'm doing quite a lot of things. But I also went to art college in Cornwall. So my art is my first love and my big passion. And I'm very grateful that I connect that in with my spiritual life as well.
Yeah, and we can see examples of your art behind you there.
Loki Koki, the drum, just before this interview, literally catapulted himself off the wall. He hasn't done that for a long time, so I thought, okay, he's either trying to squish the cat or he wanted to be on the
You want us to be in
recording.
it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So show us for a minute, because
Yeah.
that's actually a painted drum, isn't it?
Yeah, this is what I do. I talk about doing sort of visionary and shamanic art. Usually involves painting shamanic drums. So shamanic drums are tools, ancient tools that can connect us with meditation, with journeying, with our guides. And I paint them for myself, but for other people all over the world as well. This is a drum that was made for me a few years ago. And I painted him on a full moon, and he has got a lot of character. Let's just say that.
He's got a
And
great face.
and here is the first drum that I ever painted. So it was back in 2012. This is my leopard. This is a vegan drum, so it shows you can have vegan drums, synthetic drums, as well as skin drums, so it suits kind of everybody. And this is the first drum that I ever painted. She does not like Loki, so it's quite a miracle that's quite so close. This cat and wolf thing just doesn't really work very well. But yeah, so these are a couple of the drums, and I love it. I've just been very lucky to be able to paint drums for people all over the world. I'm sending a drum to America this week, to Australia, all over the world. And it's just a real amazing thing to be able to connect with the spirit of the drum itself, but also with the person's power animal or guide, or what they want to energy they want to put into the drum.
That's amazing, and a very specialized skill and activity as well.
I know, right? People say, so what do you paint? I'm like, well, drums. And they go, okay. And it seems like that's a bit strange, but it is. There's thankfully a lot of people are interested in drumming and in connecting on a spiritual way through the drum, which I think is one of the most ancient ways of connecting to the spirit world, literally. And it's very, very popular, but it's popular enough that it's helping me make a living. So yeah,
that's good. We like that. Actually, I'm just going to ask you, now we've started talking about that, when you say so for those who might not be familiar, when you say kind of connecting to spirit through the drum, you don't mean kind of looking at it or anything. What do you mean by that?
Well, in Loki's case, sometimes.
Oh, sometimes. Yeah, it's very beautiful.
But well, it's a really good question. So when we want to I think connect with our guides, so that can be power animals, that can be goddesses, deities. And if you're just beginning in this course, don't get overwhelmed. It can be any kind of being that is going to be a helpful spirit for you, and you might not know what's going to come up. You may just want to go on meditation to relax or to explore. But when we drum, it is point one, as I said, one of the most oldest ways that human beings have connected with each other, with the community, and with spirit. The act of drumming I always think that the heartbeat is the first thing we ever hear.
Yeah.
So the drum is like the heartbeat of the earth, the heartbeat we're kind of used to in the womb. So it takes us into a different place when we hear the drum. But if you drum at a specific beat, so I don't know the maths of it. I do know, but I can't remember the numbers.
Isn't it
It
5 beats?
and I thought you'd know the
I
the
want to
math.
say, but you would know it instinctively.
Yeah,
Do
so I
it.
was just do it, isn't it? So if we just if you were just going to drum like this, we did that for quite a while. It would, and it does, it takes you, it's like the drum use was called the shaman's horse. It takes you on a journey, it moves you, and it literally shifts your brain mode. It's been proven to shift the pattern of your brain. You go into a different way of processing. So if you're not normally good at meditating and you're like, well, I can't do that, you might find that this actually works for you, to kind of experience a different kind of meditation. But basically you go on a journey, and it may sound intimidating if you've never done it before, and that it isn't. Actually, it's one of the most natural things we can possibly do, and there's no pressure if you do it that you have to experience a certain thing. It's just to allow the drum to take you on a healing journey. And so it's been practiced for thousands of years, and in different ways all over the world, from Siberia to South America. There's the shamans that connect with the drum and with different ways of journeying to access the spirit world, to access their guides, to get guidance, information, healing, that kind of thing. And it's an amazing and massive and wonderful topic. But it can also just be nice to drum with friends around the campfire. That can create a lovely feeling as well. But the drum is a wonderful tool to be able to allow your guides to come close to you, or for you to find out some information, or for you to go off on a little bit of a healing expedition. And I also found some of my favorite memories are with friends around a fire, just drumming together and allowing that feeling to envelope us. So yeah, it's a massive subject. I could be here all day talking about it if we did go on to that. But that's in a kind of a nutshell. I hope that makes sense, that it is a tool to connect to our own guides, to connect to ourselves, and to go on journeys as well. And they have to be experienced. It's hard to describe them, isn't it? Like a shamanic journey, it is really hard to describe what it will actually be for you. And the words kind of fall a bit poor of the experience of actually having it, because it's a very exciting and healing thing.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, we've just dived straight into that in great detail.
Sorry, I don't know.
No, that was my fault, because I was like, Laura, explain like a shamanic journey for me, please. But why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Blame Loki. Oh my god, they're really close. Anything could happen right now.
So distracting. So before we digressed a little bit there, we were talking about your art, and you're a professional tarot reader, and you come from a Wiccan background as well, and now see involved in what else are you doing? You're doing something connected to runes at the moment, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I come from a lovely Wiccan background, and that means I've been in covens and been through the initiatory process of Wicca, which is and it's a very varied thing as well. And I was in a group, and we had a bit of a Norse twist to our Wicca, because the lady that ran the coven was very much into the Norse gods, and she's written books on it. But what also that coven was for me was quite an open forum where we could just explore things. So you can get very strict covens. This is a bit more of an open place where even though it was strict we stuck to the way things were done, but it was kind of an open space to explore what we wanted to explore. So I explored connecting with the fairies, connecting with different goddesses, and also learning about the Norse deities as well. And since moving out of London, I kind of work more on my own, on a witchy level, and I train and I kind of teach magic and other courses as well. but yeah, currently I'm immersed in the Norse. I'm on a year-long rune journey, which is fabulous, and I'm really absolutely loving immersing in the runes. I'm dreaming
Oh,
about them; they're everywhere. It's just, yeah. And also, I'm doing a study. I like to do. I'm really enjoying doing the studying. I'm studying Viking history as well, and I like doing the brainy part as well as the witchy part. I think it meets really nicely in the middle and
mm,
creates something quite interesting.
yeah, totally. Well, I mean, one of the research is a big part of magic, isn't it? Because, you
Yeah,
know, for instance, if you were kind of feeling like you wanted to work with a particular deity, you know, job one is to go and read some books about that deity, you know, find out what their myths are and what their symbols are and what they're, you know, if they from an ancient cult, well, they're always from an ancient culture. What did those people believe and all of those things. Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
so it absolutely all meshes together, doesn't it? Cool. So that's very interesting so far. I was going to
Oh
ask
yeah.
you, yeah, what does
Oh,
your
oh, that's good.
tick big tick for
Tick,
you?
very interesting.
What's
Okay, it's
that?
actually a shamanism thing as well. Like, it's a funny thing because shamanism is not a British word, but it's a shame for our own culture here in the UK. I think post Christianity, we've just lost a lot of our natural traditions, and so we take the word shamanism, which it's kind of a debated thing from Siberia, and it's something that all over the world people have done. It's so natural. Every culture, I would imagine, has had different levels of animism and connecting with nature and drumming and journeying. But unfortunately, really, in our culture, it kind of got a bit knocked out for like 2,000 years. So
Mm,
even though there is a history of the Druids, of the Celts, also the Anglo-Saxon magicians as well, and sorcerers and shamans, but the actual texts and information about that is quite hard to get hold of. So it's hard to find the words or the terms that we'd use here for these kind of things. So
mm, mm,
we use other words from other places, which is, I know is currently quite a debated thing,
mm.
but every country and every culture in their heart has some kind of shamanism, some kind of magic that's animism or nature based.
Mm.
And even if it's been lost for a long time, it doesn't mean that you can't rediscover it and find your way.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And indigenous practices, basically,
That's
I
a
always
nice
think of
way of
it as.
saying it. Yeah. Mm.
And as you say, culturally, they vary, obviously, but can often have a lot of similarity as well across the world, which is quite interesting. And I was thinking this the other day about um, if you nowadays in the UK anyway, or in the West, I suppose, do any what we call shamanic training, you kind of they teach this what they call classical shamanism
Yeah.
approach, which is sort of an amalgam of what would you say kind of South American influence mostly,
Mm. Yeah.
and Native American techniques and traditions and things. And I think their intention has been to try and teach you things that might be common between them, or
Mm.
but as you say, there's an issue about cultural appropriation. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I mean, I was writing something the other day about uh, it's difficult because when you're doing that train, it's really meaningful and profound, and you have,
Absolutely.
as
Yeah.
you said, really amazing experiences, and it's very healing. And it's not that it doesn't work or anything.
It
It's
really does
just
work.
that.
It's also very important for everyone to have that
Mhm,
access to it.
mhm.
But yeah,
But
it's
also, but 30 white people imitating cows and deer and things in the room. There's something a bit about that sometimes from some points of view. I mean, I think like when you're doing it, it's a really authentic experience. It's not that you shouldn't do it. I just was
no,
thinking about it the other day and thinking it's I don't know, a tricky one.
it isn't wrong for to do because it's everyone's a global. But there is an issue around you know the naming, the words, and
Mhm,
respecting where it's coming from. I think is really important, and
mhm,
respecting the teachers and respecting and. But I don't think there's any issue about actually doing it because unfortunately we are a culture that's had our indigenous traditions. We've got many amazing things. I'm not feeling sorry for white people. Please don't.
mhm,
I'm not.
mhm,
We've got many, but unfortunately, on a country level, our actual cultural heritage has been taken away. Like we burn witches, we've not had the chance to, the medicine that's in the land has been forgotten. So there's that land of just respecting and honoring the fact that we are working with other cultures to remember what actually is going on here. So it's not wrong for any human at all to connect, but I think it's good to be respectful, to be aware, to really honor the teachers on the land, and maybe just check if it's okay to do it. You want to do do it a certain way. And I was just reading earlier about, and you got the Sami as well. There's Sami. There's so many different, and they're, unfortunately, the people that have these medicines to share and have these traditions to share are the ones that basically have had a really hard end of the stick from the rest of the world for a long time. So that's the issue, isn't it? That the people have been treated really badly, and now we're like, oh, we want that. It's like,
yeah, kind of a very colonialist approach. And also with culture, we'll get off cultural appropriation in a minute.
Yeah.
It's about who's making money from it, isn't it? And who ultimately, well, not ultimately, but that's a big thing. Are you making money out of something that isn't essentially yours? So yeah. Moving on, I was going to ask you, Laura.
We get down that, you can't get out of that tunnel when you go down that tunnel. It's just like you can just pick yourself up for 5 billion years, and it's just like, be respectful, be honorable, but don't allow yourself to connect to the land, allow yourself to connect to your guides, or else you're missing out.
No, I think, and that's really important. Yeah. What does it, so I was going to ask you, what does your kind of magical practice look like on a daily level? What might a typical day look like for you?
Oh, on a daily level, I think I was thinking about this the other day, actually, that I don't necessarily have these grand rituals and grand ceremonies very often at all, but I do have little practices, small things, because for me that means it's going to happen. So there's like just blessing the day, like getting up and having a thing that I say which blesses and opens the day. And it means that whatever you wake up and you're like, oh, emails, oh this, or what's the cat doing, you actually just stop for a minute and you connect with the land and you connect with nature, and you just be aware of. That's really important to me, to have those morning and night blessings, which is just a second, which takes maybe a minute or two to just, oh yeah, I'm part of something quite, not just my little world. And I think that the things like that are really important. And I have an altar or 5. There's a main altar in the house, which I will light a candle, and I will connect, say something, or just silently just connect to any deities that I'm connecting with, and the ancestors and the spirits of place. So that would be just something that I'll do every day. I get through a lot of candles because of that, and put some incense on, and just have that it just creates something sacred. And I think with altars, and the more you connect with them, even in small ways, the more magic, like the hoard of magic, just grows and grows. So sometimes you have to do that much and it's already there. But like we were saying, like the way I connect on a magical level day to day may not be like I'm doing all these very complicated rituals and I'm out doing, it's very unlikely that I will, but it's special when you do. But it's more like I will I'll write a song about a deity or a part of my spiritual practice. I will be painting them. I will be studying and researching and writing about them. So I think that I was beating myself up a little bit that I wasn't doing more rituals, but I was like, Laura, like your whole life is kind of one, and just that sense of offerings and dedication to the gods come in many different ways. And if your life is dedicated to just deepening your knowledge or wisdom and your connection with whatever deities or guides you work with, then that's what I do. But yeah, I do tarot readings a lot. So a lot of the days about tarot readings. I teach, and I'm painting, and yeah, so that's there's not really a normal day. That is a normal day.
Yeah, it's a very busy day as well, also.
Yeah,
it can be
never
quite
get
a long
bored.
day.
Never bored moment. Yeah.
But I think that's really nice. Is like life is a living meditation, and life as a ongoing dedication, or even adoration. Lots of shun words there.
Yeah, and also being aware of the moon, and literally you don't have to do a big thing every time the moon is full, but it's just being aware of the different cycles of the moon, of the pagan festivals throughout the year, which are always lovely. And they're very different at the moment, because they're usually, especially in Glastonbury, they're usually quite ta-da, big things. You know, we have Beltane, which is the spring goddessy love sexy festival, and then you have Samhain, which is the death and rebirth and going into the dark time of the year festival. And they're big in Glastonbury, and we have parades, and now for the last year or so, of course, there's been none. So it's been very different, kind of celebrating these festivals on a quieter level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's quite important just to say that as well about. I think that's quite common. I feel like that. I should be doing more. That's probably just humans being human, isn't it? Like you should be doing everything bigger, and or maybe that's like the Ariesy part of both of us or something. But it's a good thing to remember, and that actually the things you're doing are significant, and it's good to be doing things over a period of time. Like small things that accrue is
Yeah.
important.
Things
Okay.
like with the gardening as well, like, you know, or on your daily walks, you know, having those trees that you really just connect with, and just having those beautiful moments where you just see nature and the magic and the spirits of nature. Just doing that and building up over time and connecting over time is really powerful, and very important parts of your life. I think they become, well, they are of mine anyway.
No, for sure. Yeah, and I think lots of people have actually discovered that during the past year, and lockdown in particular. You know, loads of people found they were discovering nature more and their local environment more because they were so bored, and but they could go out for a walk, you know, and that's been quite enriching, I think, in a way, for quite a lot of people. And that's quite a witchy task, actually. It's like one of these is to go and discover your local environment, isn't it? Go and discover power places, go and discover trees, go and find where there is a spring, you know, go and get to know your landscape in a slightly different way is, I think, quite a common approach for sort of a general, in fact, a sort of a general pagan worldview. So in a way, people have sort of unwittingly been doing that a bit more, I would say. I was just thinking that today when I was on a walking past, there's this 13 oak trees, and on one side of a field, and then on the other side of the field there's about 12, and one of them isn't there. And thinking about them, and it's a really unexciting field, but apart from the trees, the trees are really lovely and magical, and there's 13 of them and things like that. And yeah, I don't know, spending time with them was nice. I was going to ask you next a very deep question. Not that we haven't covered quite a lot so far, but what are your maxims for living life, Laura? Or what sort of, like, you know, I know I put you on the spot. Pearls of wisdom.
Don't be a douche. That's generally what I live. I live by a harsher word than that, but you have choices every day, and choose not to be, not to be.
No, I mean, it's a good one.
Generally, my thing is like, you have a choice every time something happens. You go, I could do, or I could not do that. No, I mean, that is that I do live by that one, actually. But but on a more spiritual level, I think my maxims for life are, I don't think they'll fit into little sentences, but means maybe the Aries in me as well, but I hope it might relate to a few people, is that your job is not to be like everybody else. Your job is to find your own magic and to awaken it and to live it. And whatever that is, it doesn't maybe look like Instagram, it maybe doesn't look like an empowering video somewhere. And it might not be a cool or fashionable thing, but there's that magic that's within you. And to discover that, and that could be, it could be an epic thing where you go and do amazing things, or it could be that you do small acts of kindness, or you create something quite small and beautiful that just lights up your world. That is what I think is really important for people, and in the choices that you make, that you find what lights you up, find what brings passion to your life, if that's magic, creative nature, whatever it is, and to allow it. We're just so tough on ourselves that we have our to-do lists that then squish our joy and our creativity. So what I live by is kind of, I don't know, I'd say unapologetically, but I'm English and always saying sorry, so that's a lie. But to unapologetically follow my path, and to follow whatever route it is that helps me discover myself and discover the magic in the world around me. So that's what I'd say is so important for people and for everybody. I think no matter what path you're on, is to waken up from this kind of sleep of having to please other people and do things a certain way when it doesn't make anyone happy. I think that's pretty clear. And
Yeah.
then you can also not be a douche as well. I mean, I can be a douche, don't get me wrong, but I try not to be.
Ta, well, I was going to say something really wise, then you made me laugh. Those are very good maxims to live by.
And also animals, and listen to the animals, listen to the land. Like, don't, I mean, most people do, but I think we still have this thing sometimes where we think we have more intelligence than them. And I think if you do follow the spiritual path, we realize we have a different kind of intelligence, we have a different kind of wisdom, but it's no better or more important than any other being on this planet. So just listen to other cultures, but also to other life, to what the other animals, I always listen to the animals more than probably people. So.
Yeah, no, but that's also very, do you know, I was thinking to myself, what would I say to this question? I have no good answers. I need to think of some good answers.
Yeah, and what are your maxims for
I don't know.
Don't be a douche.
Yeah, don't be a douche. Get up in the morning and try and have a shower every day. That's good advice.
That's a lockdown. That's pretty revolutionary.
Yeah. Make sure everyone has lunch. Then you're winning.
Fabulous Taurian advice, and very helpful.
Mine's the absolute minimum, though, isn't it? Like make sure people are fed.
And that's very important. So I'll forget that bit. So
that's true. Yeah, it's very Taurus household. We're always saying things like, "What's for dinner? When's the shopping coming?" And yeah, that's the most common phrase in this house, I think. What's for dinner? What can we eat? What is there?
That's important.
Yeah. Okay. And we've actually covered. I was going to ask you something that we've already talked about. Is there a book or a resource on, like, it might be a website or a song or whatever that you would particularly recommend to viewers because you love it and you think it's really helpful in some way?
Oh, so many. I'm looking around. There's so many. I mean, for different subjects or for different things that you might be looking into, I do. I'm surrounded by Norse and Viking stuff at the moment, so that's probably not helpful.
That is
but actually,
helpful. You can show us some of those.
This is actually really fascinating. It's not
Go on, I know you want to.
If it's not for people starting out, unless you really like this, but look at this bad boy.
Oh my God.
This is amazing. It's by an author called Maria Kvilhaug, and she's a Norwegian amazing scholar. It's called The Seeds of Yggdrasil, and she just goes deep into all the myths and goes really into what's really going on. You sort of know the myths of, like, Thor put a woman dressed up as a bride to kind of get his hammer back, and then that's just a ha ha ha, bless him. But then it's also like seeing, which is that layer of the funniness, but you're also looking in the layers of what everything symbolizes, and it's really fascinating, and about the goddesses and Freya. So I've not read it all, but it's so fascinating.
That is a doorstop. That looks great.
It's something quite epic, and but yeah, I'm also looking at there's just so much stuff. There's so much stuff, but also I was saying, it's actually a fiction book. You've probably read it as well. I'm reading for the third time. If you're interested in more sort of, if you live in the UK, you're interested in what was going on in the UK before Christianity just happened, which is all fine. Like, I'm all for Christianity, but I think I'm all for just balancing out our own cultural history as well, and folklore. And The Way of Weird, have you read that? It's Brian Bates, The Way of
No, I don't know
Weird.
that one.
My third time reading it, and Weird is WYRD, because he's researched it so well, and he's gone into so much actual Anglo-Saxon history and about the magic and the folklore and the plant lore and what these shamans or healers would have been maybe doing at this time. It's a fictional book, and it is like, if you ever do journeying or magic, it's a really lovely story that kind of mixes a little bit of Tolkien energy with, like, was it Carlos
Carlos
Can-
Castaneda?
That's it, yeah. It's like a cross with a journey and a bit of Tolkien energy together. So I'm rereading that for the third time and still really loving it, because so if you're interested in kind of what is, like we were saying earlier, what happens when you go on these journeys, or what happens with this healing, how does it work? I mean, it's pretty powerful, but it's I'm really enjoying reading that for the third time. There's
Yeah.
lots of really good books out there. There's lots of beginners books on Wicca and witchcraft. I've just jumped in at the deep end, but we can go back a bit in my brain and there's so many brilliant books out there about Wicca and magic. You go to Avalonia's website. They do lots of good books about, and they are like run by witches. It's about Wicca, about all different kinds of magical sources. And then there's lots. I mean, there are thankfully some really good books out there too, which is really good to help. So many that I can't even think of lots of the titles.
No. Well, that's okay. Just World War II would be great.
I've gone like down the loophole of random stories.
Actually, I think the Avalonia mention is really worth making, because, as you say, they are UK based. They are a small team, but created authentically. Loads of knowledge and everything I've read I really like, and they do lots about different gods and goddesses and different practices and things like that.
There's a beginner's guide to Wicca as well on there. There's if you want to start out and learn from practicing witches, that's
they are. And actually they're again, I'm not going to value judge them because I haven't read them, but I've noticed at the moment there's quite a lot of introduction to witchcraft type books coming out from mainstream publishers, and I'm sure some of them are brilliant, but perhaps not all. So perhaps some of them might be a bit cookie cutterish and perhaps not the best researched or something. So someone like Avalonia would be a really good place to start, because at least you feel you are getting the proper info.
They really know their eggs, onions, whatever the word is.
Yeah, both. Onions.
And in a really sweet way, is it like is it a witch's kitchen and a witch's garden? I can't remember the lady it's a really household name, witch name, who's done all these books.
Patterson.
No, it was a few years ago, and I've met this woman lots of times. And my brain.
No.
Was that Kate West? Kate West. Thank you, brain. Yeah, sorry, my brain is not good. They're good. Just you kind of begin. They're kind of really fun, lovely, warm, and very practical ways of connecting in your garden, in your home, in your to magic. So it's not threatening, and it's very things you probably do anyway, like creating soaps, magical soaps, or getting your herb garden, but knowing what the herbs are. I think that's a really good thing if you are just learning. It's just the things in your house that you already have, that you already use around you, that have amazing magical properties that you can learn about, which is, I think, really fabulous.
Yeah. Rachel Patterson was who I was thinking. So who is
lovely as well.
Also great.
Also lovely. Yes.
And very prolific, lots of books as well. So those are all excellent recommendations.
So many good ones, really.
Yes. And your own books when they're out.
When they finally
say something briefly about what you're doing book-wise.
So my books, I've written courses and done online courses on connecting with fairies, as you know, Fairy Awakening and Dragon's Awakening, Goddess Awakening. You see a theme here, Awakening, and Totem's Awakening. And the books are going to be our expansion packs on the courses. So the fairy one is the first one that's coming out, and that's kind of a big guide to a very practical guide of connecting with the fairy realm and how to make those connections, how to celebrate, how to work with the fairies and do magic and understand them. So that's the first one that's coming.
Amazing. And also I believe there might be a dragon one after that.
Yes, there we go. Dragons just people go dragons, that's just they go, okay, like proper fantasy then, and you're like, Well, yeah. It's a funny thing with dragons that every culture myth all over the world has a dragon myth, like everyone, and that's all very important as part of the land.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's it's everywhere for a reason, and dragons are brilliant. That's my saying. Dragons are
Awesome. Awesome. Children's literature is having a dragon resurgence at the moment. You might be
brilliant. Is it?
interested to know.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
cool.
It goes
Good.
through like feet, not crazes, but like things become popular as with everything.
Mm,
And we've got llamas, dragons, sad books for
llamas.
children about being sad, and other things.
Llamas. Sorry, did I hear you
Llamas.
right?
Llamas are very popular. Yeah,
I
yeah.
love llamas.
And why not? Because they're
Why
cute.
not?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyway, digress. Well, thank you, Laura. This has been fascinating.
My pleasure, as always.
People will have learned an awful lot. After we've spoken, when I upload the video, I'm going to put links to your website underneath there so people can check you out and find you for. I won't do that because I'm just not that person. If people find you for tarot, it's not me. Tarot readings, and if they want to buy a drum from you and have it painted, you also sell your original art and
Yeah.
prints. And as you say, you run courses as well, so there's loads to look at and
Yes.
find out about. Okay, well, thank you for joining me this evening. This has been amazing. It's been lovely to speak to you, another magical person.
Thank you. And it's been lovely. Thank you for a great conversation. And thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.